going to be Chris Oram. Chris is the host of the hashtag #RemainANow podcast. He's Plymouth-based as of last week, I believe. Was previously Dorset-based and is a freelance journalist. He has a website called RemainANow.com, and as you might have guessed from that website, Chris voted to leave in 2016, but is now backing a people's vote. So, Chris, the stage is yours.
Thank you, and thank you for that really lovely, warm welcome. When I do events like this, I'm often very, very nervous. For two reasons in this case. One, I am a leader in a crowd of Remainers. So I think I have the right to be a little bit nervous. Second, of course, is that this talk is following Judith, an MEP, and I can't speak as fluently as Judith, so I should be referring to some notes as I go along. I'm sure none of you mind. RemainANow is a campaign and a community for people like me who either voted leave in the 2016 referendum or abstained in that same referendum, but would now vote to remain, given a second chance. And we're about creating that safe space for people to come forward, to be open and honest, to change their minds and feel safe in doing so, because we have these problems now online with the trolls, with people giving you grief across the internet, and people feel very nervous about changing their minds, coming forward and explaining the reasons why. I want to be as brief as I can. Why did I vote to leave? I voted leave mainly on the presumption that I was going to get £350 million from my NHS, my underfunded NHS, my struggling NHS, an NHS which is the beating heart of this country. Can anyone disagree with that statement? No. So I gave my vote to leave because I wanted better for my NHS. It was the main reason. There are other reasons as well that did push me over to the edge, but like I said, I want to keep it short and sweet. So that was my main big reason. NHS, beating heart of our country. I changed my mind because I started branching out, listening to other arguments. And I come across a radio station called LBC. I'm sure many of you are familiar. You know where I'm going with this, don't you? You know what I'm going to talk about next. James O'Brien. Absolutely. Who doesn't know James O'Brien? Look at that. Perfect. 100%. Yes, James O'Brien was able to open my eyes because he didn't shout at people down across over the phone. He gave you the opportunity to go, hang on a minute, that ain't right. He gave you the opportunity to open your eyes and work it out for yourself by just pushing you in the correct direction. And that's what he did for me. And I pay tribute to James O'Brien as often as I possibly can. The man is a hero in my eyes. And if there's a Remainer on this island who doesn't know his name, then it's a tragedy. It really is. So what do we do in RemainANow? I personally, just a quick list. So I do videos explaining why I changed my mind, why I voted to leave. I've been to Parliament twice to debates with cross-party MPs. I've written articles, I tweet all the time, and I'm currently at the Liberal Democrat conference. So I'm making my voice heard in every way possible. But I also do the podcast. Now, the podcast is my baby. I'm not a professional. I might look it, but I'm not. I'm not a professional at all. I've got a microphone, I've got a desk, and somewhere, as my partner says, out of the way. So I do a podcast, and I only interview people who have changed their minds about Brexit and voted leave originally. And I know some people are sceptical about that. Well, how do you know that they voted leave in the first place? Well, we're very, very careful about that. So if somebody comes forward and says, we'd like to get involved in the RemainANow campaign, I want to be a voice for you, what we do is we do a bit of digging in the background. So we have some independents who go back through their Twitter and their Facebooks, Instagram, to make sure that they can find evidence of them saying, I voted Leave, or someone shouting at our Remainer. So we're very careful to make sure that these people who say that they voted Leave are in fact who they say they are. So we're very careful on that. So they come on and I ask them, why did you vote Leave? Why did you change your mind? How did you find Remainer now? And you would think that every story is the same. They never are. And it's a thing I often say. The day after the referendum, there were 17.4 million different versions of Brexit. And that's really, really important to make that distinction. So every person that I interview, they've all got different stories, and they're all fascinating stories. So I would actually recommend, well, of course I would, but I recommend you would have a look at that podcast. A bit rough around the edges, because like I said, I'm not a professional, but the content is there, and I would love for you to look at that podcast and listen to it and hear some of the stories. At the end of the day, yes, I'm a leaver, technically, but I'm still a human being. I still make mistakes, and by God, I'm doing everything I can to reverse that. So, help me God. But there's one other thing I'd like to say about the podcast. There's one thing that was a real eye-opening moment for me. There's a guy who, called Chris, studies law at university level. And I asked him, okay, so you've done law, let's talk about EU law. What kind of standard do you think you need to be to have a really good understanding of European law in terms of the education system? He says A-level. How many people in this room has got an A-level? Okay, so we've got a couple. Yeah, grand. How many of you people have got an A-level in law? One. Not EU law. Yeah. So, okay, right. I don't know how the educational system has changed between obviously then and now, but at A-level you learn the first bits about European law. So we were asked in 2016 to make a decision, a lot of which was about European law, and none of us here, as demonstrated, has a working knowledge of European law, which is an A-level standard. Isn't that incredible? We weren't properly informed. And anyone who tells you otherwise, well, I'll leave that to you. Especially when the reading age of our country, as of 2018, is 9 years old. The reading age of the country. So that is by some figures that I found online 2018. So last year, so about 9 years old is the reading age of the country at large. So, but that gives you an idea, not to say that the country is lacking in education, but just to give that distinction that if that's true, and you're being asked to make a decision based on an A-level understanding. So that's a bit crazy. And the last thing I'd say about the podcast, for those of you that would like to listen to it, is bear in mind that the people that have come on to my podcast and say, I voted Leave, these are the reasons, this is why I changed my mind, they are some of the bravest people I've had the privilege of speaking to. I've got a bit of a spine, a backbone, I'm a gob on a stick, and it works. It works for me. But some of these guys are not as strong as that. Some people come on and they're very shaky when they're talking to me. Some people will actually take the opportunity to apologise. It happens. So I would say to you, bear in mind that the bravery of some of these people that come on to speak to me is immense. And that brings me on very, very nicely on to what I want to talk about next, which is attitude. Thankfully, I didn't get booed when I came up on stage today. I wish. I didn't get booed, which is fantastic. That tells me that you as an audience are happy to listen to what I need to say. And you're accepting of the fact that I've made a mistake. I'm a human being. I let my emotions get ahead of my logic. And thank you. Honestly, thank you. Thank you. I do try not to take opportunities to apologise, because I think I'll apologise when I have done enough to reverse my decision. Then I will come to you in any form I can, whether that's on Twitter, on TV, whether that's an article, and then I'll say to you, I'm sorry for what I did. But I will have a clean conscience at the end of it, because I'll say I did my damnedest to change that. And I'll have a clean conscience. It's something I'll be able to tell my kids years down the line. I tried. I made a mistake, but I tried. So that attitude is something that I really want to talk to you about, because we're not going to fix this by throwing things at people who voted to leave. The government are not going to succeed in bringing the country together, it seems to me. It's up to us. Isn't it? It's up to us. Yeah, it's not the government that is going to be able to stitch this up and bring the Remainers and the Leavers together. That is something that we have to do by way of conversation, by things like this, in the communities, to be able to bring people together. And it's so important that we do so. So I would ask you to think about that attitude when you're having debates with Leavers. And just remember that they were based, a lot of their arguments are based on emotion. So when you're actually debating with them, what you're actually fighting against is their own heart. And that's not an easy thing to do. So, yes, so the only way I can see, and this comes on really nicely to Michael's question, is he gone? Is he still there, Michael? You still there? Yes. Yes. Thank you, Michael. It comes on to Michael's question really nicely, because I want a second referendum, because I want Leavers, the people who are still Leavers, to have the opportunity to say, I agree with the government's current stance, or I reject your stance, which is what it's all about. Many referenda across Europe is a case of, you have the first one, you say, this is the commission that I want to give to my government, this is what I'd like to do. Then, when the government have done that, they've fulfilled that commission, they come back to the country and say, right, this is the work I've done, are you happy with it? That's how it should work. And yet, the British government is the only government who thinks itself to be different, and that they don't have to abide by the same kind of logic. So that's what we're fighting for. But, to go back to Michael's question, sir, I understand where you're coming from, because I want a second referendum. But in the meantime, if the Liberal Democrats, which I hope do well in a general election, if that comes first, if they go out with the message of, if you elect us, we will revoke, they've had their mandate. It's the same thing. We want to give the government of the day now a mandate, as in form of a second referendum, to say, we reject this. If we do the same by voting Liberal Democrat, and their policy is to revoke, it's exactly the same decision, but in a different form. So I wanted to mention that to you specifically, because it's something that I wanted to talk about. So I hope that helps. I will come to a swift conclusion that, yeah, it's not up to the government, as I said before, to fix the issues of our country. It is up to us now, and we can do that in a number of ways. But I'd like for you guys, I have got a few business cards on me, and I'd love you to follow Remainer Now, to share some of our tweets, to go onto Facebook, and you can follow us at Remainer Now there. We're on Instagram, for those of you who like to do that. We're on YouTube, and YouTube is brilliant because of everything that we do, from speeches like this, or whether we're on the radio speaking to James O'Brien, or working the boot into somebody else on LBC, if you'd like to do that too. They're all recorded and put on our YouTube channel, so you can see all that and you can hear the arguments that I'm coming out with. The idea, just to come to a close, the reason why we want to be nationally recognised as a campaign is because we need people to recognise that we exist. For those who voted to leave, who have changed their minds, but are so worried about making that decision public. Because we need those people to put up their hands and say, yes, I'm like you, I am a Remainer now, I made a mistake. The more people that do so, the better chance we have to say, this country is Remainer now. And that is the whole point of our campaign, and I'd be so happy if you could support us in doing so. And the last thing I'll say to you, before I hand over to a few questions, is our catchphrase. It's a nice one. Simply this. It's okay to change your mind. That's it. Quite simple. Thank you for your attention. As I say, I'm not a fluent speaker. I need notes to help me out. I'm not MVP material yet, maybe. God willing, one day, perhaps. So, I'd like to hand over to you. Is there anything that you would like to know or like to ask a question of myself? Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. And that's the truth, isn't it? It's based on the emotional side. Yeah. So I don't like to think of myself as an emotional person, but perhaps my partner would disagree. But that's a conversation for another time, perhaps with different leadership. But during that referendum, yes, I was emotional about it. I was given all these reasons to want to leave, and they were all emotional reasons. And the only combat to that was a leaflet, a nice glossy leaflet by David Cameron, funded by me, which actually annoyed me more. You know, it's like, well, you're spending my money to try and tell me if this is that. No, you've lost the vote already. It was all about emotion. So thank you for making that point, and I really appreciate that. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, madam. Yes, as a matter of fact, I've made that distinction several times. I am a leaver. I can't deny that, although I would now, I would both remain in the next referendum, if God willing. But I am still a leaver. I got up and down to that every day. I am a leaver. But I am not a Brexiteer. I am not a Brexiteer. Brexiteers are the Jacob Rees-Moggs. Like the lounge in Parliament. Yeah, I don't know what you do to me, madam, if I was lounging at your dinner table. Exactly, yeah, I think you would probably have me out on my ear. So that's a Brexiteer in my mind. Then you've got a Brexiteer. So people of the public, I would call Brexiteers, who are solidified in their position in terms of Brexit and are not going to move. And yes, you're right. The leavers, people like me, people that did vote based on emotions, but can be spoken to in a rational and logical way. Those are the people that we, the Dems, for example, or us at Remainer now, they're the kind of people that we want to entice in to say, the second referendum is what you want to. That's what we have to do now. It's the leaders saying, you want a referendum too, and these are the reasons why you as a leader want a referendum, because it gives you the chance to say, I reject what you've done as a government, or I'm happy with what you've done. But you are right, that is the distinction between them. Any other questions? Michael?
Maybe you change your mind. Change your mind. Change your mind.
Yes. Well, like I said before, it did start off with listening to James O'Brien, and he would literally, bit by bit, actually rip to shreds the kind of arguments that I would have gone and told my mates at the pub about. So, like, we can't control our borders, for example. Sorry? Yeah. Would you like the God's honest truth on that? I'm sure you would. I was on holiday in Cornwall and I turned the radio on and they were talking about Brexit. Ooh, this sounds interesting. Next thing you know, I'm like, hang on, this guy's giving me the boot. I'm not happy about this, I should listen a bit more. And then a couple of months later, I'm like, yeah, right on, James. Good man, well done. Oh, God. An awful mistake. And that is how it is. You won't find light bulb moments, not anymore. Those moments have passed. You know, that was 6 months, 9 months after the referendum, and you get people like me who had the light bulb moment. Now it's about gradually bringing people forward, and it's going to be a slow process, slow transition, breaking their arguments down bit by bit, because what they're based on is emotion and just headlines. Brexit means Brexit. What the bloody hell does that mean? That's what it's based on. You've got to break it down, and then you're able to bring people over and in a slow transition. But that's the way forward now. Thank you, Mike. Any others?
We're going to finish with questions with.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I'm terrible at timekeeping.
No, not you.
All right. Well, again, thank you ever so much for your attention this afternoon, and I appreciate some of the other comments about remaining out, and I would love for all of you to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. Because the more support we get, the better. Thank you so much.